Pope Benedict XVI has elevated 22 bishops as cardinals last weekend. The new cardinals will be among the Pope's closest advisors and be numbered among those who will elect his successor. Cardinals are the Pope's closest collaborators in the Vatican and around the world. They lead major archdioceses and run key Vatican departments that help the Pope decide church policy and doctrine that can affect the lives of Catholics worldwide. Among those elevated to the cardinalate was Cardinal George Alencherry of India. He is the 4th Malayali and 10th Indian to be elevated as cardinal. On his elevation as cardinal, Alencherry has become one of the 3 Indian prelates who have voting right in the Pope's election. At present, there are 5 cardinals in India, of whom 2 are above 80 years and hence do not have voting rights. Alencherry was the first major archbishop to be elected by the Synod after the Syro-Malabar Church was elevated to the status of major archiepiscopal church. Our correspondent in Rome, Alessandro Speciale, was able to talk to the new Indian cardinal.
Archbishop Alencherry, how are your feelings on being created a cardinal?
I am really searching what I can do for the Church, especially the Church Universal, since the Holy Father has created me cardinal. But even at the time when I was elected major archbishop, I told in interviews like this and also in my conferences that I am a person who works not only for my own diocese, not only even for my own sui juris church, Syro-Malabar Church, but for the whole church. Every Christian, every priest, every bishop should be like that, no? One is for the whole church. And now the universal church, through the Holy Father, is speaking that you have to do it. You have no other option. We expect that you do work for the whole church. That way I understand very well. It was my vision, and now it is officially proclaimed by the action of the Holy Father by creating me a cardinal.
What are the main challenges for the Syro-Malabar Church in India?
The Syro-Malabar Church in India is actually working in unison with the 2 other sui juris churches. We cannot say that the Latin Church in India is a sui juris church in itself, because it is together with the universal Latin Church. And so also the Syro-Malabar Church in India is not only limited to India, it has its own faithful all over the world. Of course, there is no comparison between the Latin Church and the Syro-Malabar Church, but at the same time the faithful are there. And we do have a diocese in the United States also, Chicago. And it has to work also with the Syro-Malankara Catholic Church. And we do have an understanding among ourselves, among these 3 sui juris churches, more and more growing and flourishing very well. And so my first duty is to create this communion of the 3 sui juris churches in the best way possible hereafter.
How are the interfaith relationships in your country? There have been tensions, episodes of violence recently.
In general, as I said before, is mainly the challenges for the evangelization. And the first challenge is to create a receptivity of the message of Christ in spite of the what we call the extremist views of certain groups of people in the religions of Hinduism mainly, and also sometimes of the Islam. And these extremist views are not really owned by the whole faithful of the other religions. So interfaith relationship is going on in general very well, but the attacks and also the animosity created by the extremist views are really a great problem. And for that, we have to devise ways and means for appropriate times and appropriate places according to the judgment of the Church in general. That is a real challenge.
Whether giving up sweets for Lent, marriage for life, chances at wealth to serve others, or whatever else, Christian asceticism is not based on a belief that pleasures are evil, or that we must punish ourselves for our sins, or for the fact of being enfleshed beings. Neither is Christian asceticism religious athleticism, an attempt to become spiritual superheroes. Asceticism is an act of faith, reminding ourselves that we need fear no loss so long as we are embraced by God's love. In a sense, it's preparation for death, when we give up everything except the undying love of God. What happens when I give something up? Well, the first thing is that I notice it's missing. My fasting stomach rumbles. My eyes stare at a blank screen. I go through withdrawal. If I don't panic and give in right away, I realize a few things. The first is that my life has depended upon inessentials. I'm not dying of my Lenten practice. I can live without. The second is that by voluntarily doing without, I become more aware of those who every day have no choice but to endure. Third, I realize I'm making a profit. Each day I do without, I reduce my expenditures. I also turn a profit of time. Time I spent on what I've given up is now available for new things. I may decide to use those profits for the sake of others. Fourth, I'm reminded that I can indeed do without, because no matter what I lose, God is with me. I can go hungry. I can even starve. I will die. But nothing can separate me from the love of God. Our Lenten practices are an opportunity to renew faith in God's love that is stronger than sin, stronger than the power of evil, stronger than death. But why do this now instead of, for instance, before Christmas or Pentecost? Catechumens are baptized at the Easter Vigil, and Lent was originally their season of preparation. We, who are already baptized, renew our own baptismal commitment at Easter, so Lent became a time to prepare for that. Lent is a time for our conversion. In today's Gospel, Jesus says, "This is the time of fulfillment. The reign of God is at hand. Reform your lives and believe in the good news." This is indeed the time of fulfillment. The reign of God is at hand. The Lord has come among us, and God is with us. Easter, with its promise that life is unconquered by suffering and death, and in fact comes through them, is near. The Lord calls us to a change of life, a change we exercise in some small way in Lent as a means of recommitting ourselves at Easter to the big reform we accepted in our baptism. And what is that reform? It's a life free from enslavement to the things around me, free of the need to find my value in the things I own or use. It's sharing my time, talents, and treasures with my brothers and sisters. It's joyful, grateful hope that in my death I'm not lost to God. In other words, it's Lent.